Want to reach an engaged audience? Have no fear. Advertise your business on our podcast. Connect with us, the Coffee with Joy Talk Show podcast, and let's grow together. Email us, and we surely look forward to hear from you. Welcome to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all here. I am so excited to have my guest, Marie. Hey, the Curvy Fashionista. We're going to talk about all things plus, of course. What happened to the plus world? What happened to the brick and mortar? So many great things. This young lady has been in this industry for over a decade, if not more, right? So we're so excited to have one of the gurus in the place. Well, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. And if you'd like to patronize our company, please make sure that you follow the QR codes. Any amount would do. So without further ado, we're going to have my guest, Marie, come to the stage. Hey, Marie, what's up?
Hey.
Hi. Yes, Bob. I love the hairstyle. Yes. I had my bob, but hey, we rocking a little crochet.
You got a curly bob. Bob. That's all. There you go.
There you go. Yes, the curly bob. Yes, we're bobbing it today, people. We're bobbing it. So before we get into our discussion, can you tell people a little bit about yourself? And then we're going to go from there.
Yeah, well, my name is Marie Denee, and I am the creator and founder of the digital media publication, The Curvy Fashionista. We've been writing, delivering, unearthing, sharing the latest in plus size fashion news and resources for the past 16 years. Come December, the end of December, which is really wild to say. Like my TCF is a whole teenager. I'm a bit of a walking wiki. I'm a nerd. So I love to be behind the scenes. I love to talk about like the business of plus, the business side of things. And let's see, like this journey of entrepreneurship has been a very enlightening and educational one for me, spiritually, professionally, and just personally. So that's a little bit of, I'm a Virgo.
Yes.
I have a Capricorn moon and a Cancer rising. So I'm an emotional, ambitious perfectionist, which is like a hell of a combination. What else? What else do you want to know about me, sis?
Oh, hey, that wraps it all up, right? So let's jump right onto it.
Let's do it.
Plus size, of course, you and I had a little discussion about it, prior to. So, but before we get into that, how did the Curvy Fashionista all come about? How did this young lady take flight along with TCF Styles?
Well, interestingly enough, I had initially started the Curvy Fashionista as a marketing tool because I wanted to open up a boutique. And I did for like half of the year, like 6 months. I had an online boutique, and I realized very quickly that I'm not Superwoman, although like we like to pretend we are. I couldn't run a boutique and run TCF, and TCF was taking off more then. And so I kind of had to decide, right? Like, what was I going to do? And I had just finished up my MBA program in marketing. And like I told you, I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was able to, with the impetus of Full Figure Fashion Week and Gwen DeVoe, like I was able to be like, you need to learn about blogs, Gwen. And that was kind of like my foray into the plus size community at that time. And God, that was like 2008, 2009, actually. So like, it's been an interesting journey because I didn't go to school for this.
Yeah.
I had, like this journey is one that like, I had no idea what I was doing almost all the time. It was literally a series of like leaps of faith.
Yeah.
And like, okay, let's see what's gonna happen. Okay, like you didn't give me this like, oomph to do it. Let's go.
Yeah.
And with that though comes a lot of like lessons,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's in learning your own worth, learning your own value, learning how to plan, learning how to hire, learning who not to hire, learning how to manage, learning how to lead, learning how to just run a business, period.
Yeah.
It has been a journey and an escapade, and well, like Janet Jackson just came up in my head, so I was like, okay, escapade.
Right.
So like we'll go there with that. Like, so for me, like, it's just been, but at the root of it, like, I've always known I've been walking in my purpose.
Yeah.
And so I also know that everything that's happened is not by mistake.
Of course.
So for me, being extremely guided by both faith, a little woo woo,
Mhm.
my spirit team, and like just like my how I was raised. And I'm a daughter of a military. My mom was in the military for 23 years. So like, there's no such thing as quit. So
Yeah.
for me, like, it's been really exciting, especially over these past few years, to kind of culminate everything that I've learn more, and then apply it
Yeah.
to really give me the strong foundation that I need to take it where it needs to go.
Hmm. And and I just want to brag on TCF Style just a little because like you stated, blogging, right? Because I started as a blogger, and I know once TCF Style came up, and we're in DC, and it was like, yeah, we gotta go, and just to be around that community, just to be around individual who shares the same common like what you have as far as fashion, as far as trends, as far as ideas. It was just to hear like other bloggers at the time. Of course, people call them influencers or content creators. Still the same thing, right?
Listen, like, I mean, but can we talk about that though? Because
Yes.
I come from an era, I feel like I feel really old. I come from an era where influencers used to be a cuss word. It
Mm,
was used as a pejorative, as
mm.
a negative thing, right? When someone said that you were an influ, it wasn't like, oh, today's world of like
Influence.
influencer marketing, influencer man, like, it's a whole industry. But when it first came out, somebody called you an influencer, it was fighting words.
Yes, yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
just gonna say it. Like, people, like, it's been that long, and it's been interesting because like my biggest challenge has been, how do I keep evolving so that we stay, for lack of a better word, relevant, so
Yeah,
that we're like still like, in the loop, we're still sharing, we're still giving what we had been doing from the beginning,
yeah.
but in a way that folks today, I have a contributor, and she's totally Gen Z, and she was like, Marie, we need to see some of this. We need to see some more of this. I need to see. And I'm like, okay, sis, like, give me some pitches.
Yeah,
Like, okay. And I realized, like, it's like a mind play or something, because, 16 years, like, I remember when we did not have a lot of this access, a
yeah,
lot of this connectivity, a lot of the, I remember fighting for a size 18 model.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And now here we have models on websites that are size 20, 22s, and 24s. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
sorry, I
But
know we
because
were
of
trying to what
TCS
up
Style
pace.
is the trailblazer to opening so many doors, because like you stated, a lot of things that we are afforded now, we did not have then. And we're talking about within the same era, okay? Within the
Yep.
same, just a couple of years down the street, same time. But it was a chance to meet other bloggers at the time, right? Just to meet the person that you
This was
see.
pre this was pre algorithms.
Correct. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Because a lot of people today will talk about how the algorithm, like, how the community seems like, not, it seems fractured, not the
yeah,
same. But some of that, a lot of it, has
yeah,
to do with these algorithms that these social media platforms had instituted, because the growth of plus size media, or plus size fashion, the growth of the plus size fashion community, the growth of the plus size fashion community has been all predicated to social media.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's a direct correlation,
Hmm.
right? Like, that's when the girls was like, we need this.
Yeah,
We don't want that.
yeah. And then too, if you really look at it, plus size was always online, right? They was always there. We didn't have the brick and mortar. And
Correct.
if we did, it was like your top stores. Those were like household names before we were
Or
born.
hella luxury designers, right? Like that, I don't have like $1,500 to drop on a jacket.
Correct. Correct. You know,
Or or I don't know that experience.
correct. Correct.
So it's not like you
Times,
don't have it, it's just like, but I also don't understand, right? They'll spend the $1,500 on a purse
yeah.
because that's what they know, experience, and feel. But to spend it on a Marina Rinaldi jacket,
Yeah.
girl, let me tell you, I tried on this jacket at Marina Rinaldi.
Yes, yes,
It was
yes.
like it was like this puffer leather situation that did this fun thing with zippers. And I was just gagging, and it was like exaggerated sleek, like there's a name for it that I'm like, a not a dolman, maybe it's a dolman sleeve. So where
Okay.
it wasn't like this, it was like a little like extra roomier.
Okay.
And oh my god, that thing was bad. Oh,
And what was the price tag?
oh, I didn't even check because I already knew.
Gotcha.
You know what
Got
I'm saying? Like, you in Marina Rinaldi boutique in Beverly Hills.
you know your pocket's already screaming, get out, get out, get out,
I
get
mean,
out.
but just to be able to have that experience,
Right.
to feel something, to know the hand and the drape and the weight and the way that it skims and how it hangs on your body, like, those experiences are so few and far
Yeah.
between. But
Hmm.
I come from a retail background,
Right.
right? Like, I worked in retail. I was a um, DKNY specialist. I was an Ellie Tahari specialist. Then I worked in management for
Hmm.
Bloomingdale's.
Oh wow.
And in that journey, for me, I'm over here playing with Acris Punto, with uh Sophia Ricky L, and all these other designers that I'm just like, oh my god, this was good. I wish this was my size.
Hmm.
And then that's what kind of led me into this world of plus.
Now, why do you think there is the lack? Because again, like you stated, there's no people, women of plus size don't have that experience. Not to say they can't, but it's not the experience because you use the comparison with the purse. Why do you think there is a lack in that area?
Access,
Hmm.
right? Half of it is access. Half of it is being able to walk into a store
Hmm.
and want, the finest of fabrics, the finest of cuts, the finest of styles. And you already know, in order to get that, you usually have to go to a higher end department store.
Right.
These department stores, even if they do carry plus, it tends to be more conservative, more matronly.
Yeah.
It doesn't inspire from a fashion perspective. And so a lot of it has to do with, like, from a marketing standpoint, like,
Hmm.
the consumer that they've known as the plus size woman has changed,
Mm.
and they haven't reconciled with that, because, like, they're, and this is like true across, like, high end, Torrid, Lane Bryant. That Midwestern customer is their tried and true, because quite frankly, like, that's the only two places they have to shop:
Yeah.
Torrid or Lane
I'm
Bryant,
right. You're right.
right? And if they do make it to a Nordstrom, they got to drive for however many miles to
Right.
get to a Nordstrom or a Macy's. And that's an if that Macy's or Nordstrom's carries the better brands.
Right.
If. So it's about an access type of thing rather than a
Cost.
but it's both, right? Because,
Hmm.
like, if you don't have access, then you don't understand what the difference of luxury versus fast fashion versus contemporary versus designer,
Right.
right? Like, we now have segmentation within the plus size space, but if you don't have access to those segments,
Yeah.
you don't know the difference. So all you're seeing is like a jacket that costs $500, and you're like, what the hell? Why the hell? And who the hell?
Right. Right.
Not realizing that $500 jacket is going to last you 3 times as long as that $50
Yeah.
jacket, and it's not going to rip apart at the seams from being stretched too much.
Yeah.
And depending on where you bought it from, if there is anything wrong with that one particular piece, you could take it back and have and alterations will fix it, or take it back and, maybe they'll exchange it, or you know what I'm saying? Like, you have all these things built in when
Right.
you do invest in your luxury pieces. So sorry if I'm like rambling about luxury, because we've been talking about luxury all month long,
Right.
but like those are the differences, the nuances within the plus space that we're starting to see more of than we have ever before.
I mean, no, that's great to hear because I I know for a fact that conversation is not being held across the board in plus, right? Because again, we're at back then. I remember watching Oprah and she was stating this was a long time ago when she was on her show, and she made a comparison that you all have to buy like was like a 8 and a 14 to get the 22, and that's the price versus that's like two people. And that stuck right in my head, right? So again, as a plus size woman, automatically sometimes we see the denominator of the
But I mean, like, how healthy is that though, right?
yeah,
Because if you are a size 22 woman, you're remembering that quote of you being two people.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And that does something to your psyche. And I think that's why it becomes even more important about like what type of media we consume, why it's so important,
mhm,
as TCF has grown up into being a digital media publisher, why it's important for folks to support us so that
yes,
we can provide the media, the conversations, the perspectives that reflect the industry, reflect the community, so that we can then impact industry.
yeah,
Because if we're able to tell these stories that happen about the people for us, by us,
right,
we're able to show and prove, and not just be an anecdotal type of, random storyline, right? We
right,
can be like, yo, these people right here.
mm-hmm,
Like I was consulting for a brand one time, and
uh-huh,
they were just, and I asked them to describe their customer.
mm,
And so they were describing her and everything. And I'm like, okay, this is me. But
mm-hmm,
when they styled her, I was like, I'm sorry, everything that you have ticked off, do I look like that what you just styled her with? And they like literally had like a brain fart, because in their head, like, I'm 43.
mm-hmm,
So for me, I'm like, I'm both conservative and not.
right, right,
Like, I need my skirt to go past my fingertips. Right? Like, that's my measurement, is my fingertips, but that's because I used to be a cheerleader, so whatever.
yeah,
Like, fingertips is my measurement of shortness. But, like, what interests me, like, for me, comfort, like, reigns supreme. I need to be comfortable.
yeah, yeah,
And what comfortable means for me is gonna be different from what comfortable means for you, Joy.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? And so, but at the same time, I'm not trying to look like my grandmother at 43 years old,
correct,
because they're dressing, or they have this picture of my grandmother at that
mm,
45-year-old woman.
yeah,
That's that.
yeah. That was a strong no.
I mean, so there's like this like generational shift that's very nuanced to the plus size space.
Yeah,
There's a because most women in their 45 to 60s did not have this level of access and opportunity and
correct.
resource. So now they having fun with it. So
Yeah,
try to tell me that I can't wear something.
yeah, yeah,
Like, I need to see myself reflected in all the media pieces, because she's got the money
yeah.
at 45 to 60. So she's trying to
Juice
assert
up her.
herself.
Yeah,
Yeah. She's like, that's my mom. That's not me.
right.
But then it contends with like everyone's paying attention to Gen Z. So then you have I'm a Zennial.
Mm.
So I'm on that weird cusp of both Gen X and millennial.
Yeah,
I'm that
same.
elder millennial, like being 43 years old.
Yeah,
So for me, like, technically I should be like married with like a couple of kids, but I'm single and I don't have any children. But like, still, like, my sister's 2 years younger than me. She's married with 3 kids. So she and I both fit into that Zennial space. So we joke back and forth about like, is this being marketed to me? Like, who are they
right.
talking to?
But it's and also you said it earlier, it's all about just awareness because again, they have not experienced that. So some people who do have this image of back then, and then when they paint it, it's something totally different. So as you stated earlier, it's just about influencing. Influence back then was like, you are a strong negative individual on my child. But now we say influencer like, boom, wow. It's like the great thing. And it
It's like
even dawned on me until you
it is a
stated.
whole it is a whole career now.
Yes, literally. It's like, to be
Literally.
great, I want you to be an influencer, when back then it was completely negative. And now sitting here like at
Like,
great.
people would call themselves bloggers before they would call themselves influencers. Even now, folks will call themselves creators before they will call themselves influencers.
Yes.
It's so interesting. And you decide to call yourself an influencer, like, there's no malice. It's just interesting when you've been around in a space where that term or that phrase has been introduced,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you're like, I don't know if I identify with that.
Yeah.
Like, it's important for me when I do interviews that I introduce myself as the founder and creator. I'm not a blogger or an influencer. I
Mhm.
am not the Curvy Fashionista. I am the founder and editor in chief of the Curvy Fashionista,
Mhm. Mhm.
because we have grown and evolved. And I have listen, I've gone through accelerator program and a business boot camp. Like, I've really taken a lot of, what do you call it? Invested in myself so that
Yeah.
I understand better what I'm doing so that I don't make the same mistakes that I have in the past.
Right. And it's just really just to understand, because again, you're on the growth, you're on the innovation, really trying to keep the business afloat of being within the new, right? Because again, just in this conversation, just hearing the word influencer, it's like, wow, you didn't think about that until now. It's like, that's just remarkable. So after these messages, we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Marie, as this conversation is definitely boiling up. So if you're in the plus size world, it's really taking you on an educational turn into a great direction of wow, eureka, huh? Wow. So stay tuned after these messages. We're going to continue to talk to my guest, Marie. In the gym, well, these cute workout sets are the bomb. Make sure that you hit the PayPal QR code, and so that you can find out more about these cute sets and so much more. Let's get to working out. Yeah. Welcome back to Coffee with Joy. So excited to have you all here. So great. See, please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. And if you'd like to patronize our company, please make sure you do so with our QR code towards the end. Any amount will help. So we're going to continue to talk to my guest, Marie. Hey, Marie. Yeah. So our conversation was just lit. It was off the chain, if they still saying that, right? It was literally going bonkers. Like, oh my gosh. I'm just sitting there like at all. So now I want to continue as we talk about the Curvy Fashionista, as you stated, as you evolve, as you want to make sure that it's clear and precise. I am the founder, the CEO. So what made you decide to make sure that's a clear route where people understand? I know you stated, you took an accelerated course, you done a few things, but what was the turn to make sure that's clear and really defined for Marie Denee?
It took a long time for me to clarify and define that, because I dealt with a lot of imposter syndrome. Like, I dealt
Mm,
with a lot of, like, mental health issues, like, even just self-esteem, like mental things I had to navigate through my head in terms of who I am, what role I
mhm.
play, who I want to be, how I want to be seen, right?
Right.
Like, and really deal with a lot of that. Like, in these past 2 years, I've done a lot of personal shadow work and worked through a lot of those questions, those topics that I just mentioned.
Mhm.
But what I will say is that around 2019-ish, I had a girlfriend of mine. She's in the VC space. So her company, she's raised funds. And she was like, Marie, you're a tech enabled company.
Mhm.
Like, why don't, and I was like, huh? I
Mhm.
am? Like, I had no idea about like the viability or the escalation. Like, in my head, I've always wanted TCF to sit next to Who, What, Where, Refinery 29, and the Zoe Report, right?
Mm.
But I
Mhm.
didn't know what they were called. I
Right.
didn't know the name of what they were called. So I also didn't know how to operate in that way. But I was trying to operate or trying to figure my way out for a long time. So Come 2022, I had like the worst devastation, like the business devastation I had was put on hold for
Mhm.
10 months with a brand that had wanted to acquire me. This
Mm.
deal fell through and it devastated me to the tune of over negative $250,000. And that was just in that year in 2022. I ended up moving back home. I had to really think about like where TCF was going, what TCF was going to do. I felt like my life at that time was at the beginning of a Hallmark movie
Mm.
where like the business girl like experiences some like personal business trauma and she comes back home and like realizes like all the things that are important to her at home.
Yeah.
That was kind of like my life at that time. Um, but then like the following spring last year 2023, I went into an accelerator program that was created for Black owned media publishers. And I
Mm.
was like, is that what I am? A media publisher?
Yeah.
I've graduated from like because I didn't know the name,
Yeah.
but like I was trying to operate in a way I didn't have the examples. I
Mhm.
didn't have the phrasing. So even when I tried to search on Google, like anything media, it was giving me social media results.
Yeah.
Like I'm all like, I don't need social media. I need digital media publishing. Like, what is this?
Right.
And so that, like, it really humbled me,
Mhm.
like, in going through this accelerator program. But I found ecosystem. I was surrounded by other publishers,
Mhm.
industry agnostic, but just different publishers where we're focusing on the business of media.
Right.
And that means operations, ad tech, audience development, data, all these things that I'm just like,
Mm.
and so I went through this accelerator program and I realized like, okay, so after the devastation of 2022, I laugh because it feels like I'm going through a little bit of a phoenix rising from the ashes for me in the sense of like learning who I am, how I want to show up, like where I'm going, and what do I need to know.
Mm.
So I went through this accelerator program, and then in the fall, I went through a business boot camp through New Voices, which is attached to
Mm.
Essence magazine. They have a Madam CJ Walker uh, Pace Business Boot Camp. It's a very long word,
Yeah.
but it's a Madam CJ Walker Pace Business Boot Camp. And it was like, I felt like I was going back to college because it was like a 16-week 14-week class, 2 days a week, 2 hours each day. You got to be buckled the
Mhm.
okay. Like one day was like coaching, one day was curriculum, and I was able to learn how to create strategy and create the processes and procedures in order to position myself to scale, in order to position myself to be able to execute, in order to position myself to be successful on the end. And then I saw the Beyonce movie
Mhm.
and learned that she planned her tour for what 6 years in advance or something like some
Mhm.
crazy, whatever it was. And I was just like strategery.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it all started to click for me. And so I realized like even now, like whenever I have anything that I have want to do, which has been part of the reason why I've been so quiet,
Yeah.
so kind of like inward
Yeah.
or in my like in my cancer shell, like retreating because I'm processing everything that I've learned. I'm planning and creating the strategy so
Yeah.
that I can properly execute, so that I can properly do things, so I can move better in integrity, so I can move better in confidence, so I
Mhm.
can move better and even just recognize that like the things that I'm doing is not about me. There's someone watching me clocking every move because they're either inspired or motivated or I want to be like this but like this. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like so I have to move, I have to be responsible for each step that I take because it's not just about me.
Right. Wow. And that's a mouthful. That is a mouthful. Only because one, I think a lot of people need to understand how you understand how to drive the business, how to really identify. Because a lot of people in their business, but they really don't have a clear distinction of what they're doing, especially in the plus
It's
world,
their
right?
why. It's their
Right.
why, right? Like I
Mhm.
always say, what is your why?
Right.
Like find your why and hold on to that. Like for
Yeah.
me, it's about providing resource to empower, to inform, and to educate.
Mhm.
Like
But with the
everything
why, but
Mhm.
I feel as though with the why, you have to make sure, like how you able to articulate. You have to be able to articulate your why and not give up, but keep refining, keep reshaping, keep identifying what is the nucleus of your why? What is the whole circumference and that moves the
And
business
your
forward?
why will fortify you
Mm-hmm.
because it's easy to be distracted or to
Very.
compare. Oh, well, so and so got this, or so and so's doing this, or so and so's doing that, and to not be impacted or affected, right? Like it's so easy. You get distracted watching their path. You're not staying true to yours. You know, it's so easy to negate all of the things that you have like, succeeded in and achieved because it's not as big as so and so's. But
Yeah.
you don't know their journey. You're
Correct.
only seeing their highlight reel. You're not seeing
Yeah.
their true camera reel of
Yeah.
all how many shots it took to get that perfect
Right.
like Instagram photo. You know what I'm saying? Like in that journey, it is important, like as regardless of where you go, you have to allow yourself and especially if you don't truly know your why and you're still like you may know your why but you don't know your purpose,
Yeah.
it is important that you stay true to your why. Like you honor and recognize like the motivation and what brings you joy because it
Mhm.
will help you to find your purpose.
Mhm.
And not everybody needs to be a model. Not everybody needs to be an influencer. We need stylists. We need marketing experts. We need photographers. We need creative directors. We need publicists. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there are so many different ways that your gift
But to really
your
learn the
gift.
industry, right? Because again, I think a lot of people get in, especially like with plus size, they get in because they see the community. We want to get in, we want to be a part, but we follow this crowd, not noting that there's other sub areas that need to be fulfilled in order to keep this flight
And
going.
that's why I say it's okay to come in and not know your purpose,
Mhm.
but you know that you honor and recognize that your soul is finding joy,
Yeah.
that your soul is being stirred, right? Because for me, what brings me joy is like and gives me peace and like helps me feel like I've done something is when I do receive those emails about how TCF has impacted their has shown them. I had an email, a DM of someone who had been following me from middle school, high school, all the way through college. And I'm like, I've been around way too long, right? First of all.
Which is
But
good.
then they were telling me how because of TCF, like it helped them to learn how to find confidence with themselves. And it helped them find confidence through like resources and clothing so that they could feel, you know, accepted part of the crowd, like belonging, right? A sense of belonging. That type of impact for me is like everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I
So
could ditto that person because, like I said, we're starting off, and it's to go back to the beginning when you're starting off as a plus size and you're trying to find your community just to be a part, knowing that you're doing something right, but your circle does not encompass that. So you go out and TCF style allowed that. It allowed us to come together just to be like, oh wow, fangirl. I'm really talking to someone I saw a lot. They probably fanning over you, not knowing, hey, but you made an environment where individuals can come together and really see each other, knowing that we are real
thank you.
and bring companies together with clothing, with style to know that, hey, oh wow, we can touch, we can see designers. You made it where it was interactive, where it was a fashion show, people you could buy, you had panelists. So just to be able to have that room where individuals are able to be together and people are willing, because I know I've gone like twice, and it was always something unique and exciting just to be around other bloggers at the time, and really bring in something that's different and get to know people who you see online and get to actually meet in person. So, but again, that's the influx. Now it's time to, okay, how do I define, how do I be part of this community and continue to grow? Because we talked about people doing Ozempic, right? And I'm not against that, right? I'm solely not, because everyone has its purpose, right? But many people want to be part of the plus, but they don't want to be plus, right? They want to claim that because hey, I'm a fan. Plus brings a lot of great things. I know which people may have thought 10, 15 years ago, but plus is not what it was. The confidence is on the 10, the dressing is on the 10. Of course, there's still, just like any other arena, there's still a little lack. But altogether, plus is in a world where it's starting to grow. I know the pandemic kind of shifted and kind of changed things around, but at the end of the day, this is an arena that many people still love to be a part of, because the confidence, the style, the whole arena is just on fire, because one, we're in it. Hey, why not? Yes. So now, where do you see the Curvy Fashionista in the next 5 years?
So a couple of things. So for those of you guys who keep hearing her say TCF style and wondering like what she's talking about, so the Curvy Fashionista used to have an expo called the TCF Style Expo, and that happened in Georgia, in Atlanta. We had 5 of them, and now that I've moved back home to California, we're looking to how do we evolve that into something different. So like we're playing around with some things, but that was a sidebar. Just had to say that. So where do I see TCF in 5 years? There's a lot, and hard to say exactly where I see TCF because I've learned that when man plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
And so for me, what is most important is I get TCF to a space where I don't have to be involved in every facet of the business. I love to see TCF have an office, like a headquarters, like a legit, like, she cute, we shooting in it, like we do, like a creative space, like that would be lovely. I would love to see TCF. I'm still trying to decide, like, if this is something that I pivot to from a startup space and look to for investment to scale, or if this is something that I look towards like an exit strategy or an acquisition type of strategy. 5 years will be 21 years.
Yeah.
So that's a long time. So for me, I think when I think about TCF, I'm like, well, who's up next? Like, who could I train to replace me?
Yeah.
Like, who could I nurture and develop to take over the reins? Because, at that point, like, I'll be 5 years, I'll be, almost 50. Like, I have to think very pragmatically about those things, but I'm not attached to, how do you say, I'm not like, oh, it has to look like this, it has to be like this. Like,
Right.
it's kind of fluid right now because there's so many different things. And girl, with the way that Pluto just moved out of Capricorn.
Yeah, Marie Denee is into the zodiac, so I'm still learning people. So if you in the zodiac,
listen,
you get what she
for
said.
those who know, Pluto just moved out of Capricorn. And amen, because that was sitting on my 7th house. And so now we're moving into the 8th. And I'm like, whew.
Yes.
Because from a business owner perspective, that 7th house is contracts, marriages, negotiations, relationships. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all of that drama type of stuff, right? There's a lot of lessons for the last 15 years. I've had to learn a lot and process a lot. And I'm grateful that I've been able to come out and be like, I'm not the same Marie I was 2 years ago.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
But like, it's also part of me is like itching to like reintroduce myself, to kind of like come out, like, because I've been hiding. But like, I don't want to do do things the same way that, like, I have to find a way that makes it feel like a little bit more me,
Yeah.
so maybe it's a podcast, Joy.
Yeah. Hey, we're
I'm just
here
saying,
for it.
like,
We're here
a
for it.
way for me to talk about the things that are important, but have some fun conversation where
Yeah.
folks are able to reconnect. I used to do lives. So I don't know what the next 5 years look like for me
Okay.
because, like, if you would have asked me 2020 or 2021, what I thought, like 2022 was the worst year for me.
All right.
Worst, best year, like, in some ways, like, I know one day I'll look back and be like, "Ha! I needed all that to happen in 2022."
All
Right
right.
now, I'm like,
Yeah.
spirit is like, "Girl."
All right.
My soul is like, "Okay, we coming through, we breaking through, like, we're healing." So, very mindful of, like, where I am mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, and spiritually. So, like, me and my spirit team, we talk,
Mm-hmm.
like, mental health is, like, really important for me, like, making sure that I'm taking care of me because for so long I was so all about TCF that I totally negated myself.
Mm.
Like, totally negated myself. So now, like, I'm all, let me get my supplements, let me journal, let me, have some boundaries, like end my day at a certain time, doing things that, go out and started taking some pole dancing classes. Like, I'm finding I'm finding things like what interests Marie
Yeah.
outside of TCF. So
Mm.
who knows? Maybe next year I'll be like married with a kid. Who knows?
No. Right. Right. Right.
Said man plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, God, let your will be done.
Right. So this has been a tremendous, great.
Oh no, I think we lost her. Well, hey, I've had so much fun with y'all. I just want to thank you for tuning in and supporting Miss Coffee with Joy because she is a delight. I have known her since she started her journey, and I love to see. It's really great to see her growth, her growth trajectory. I've just been over here singing your praises so you could have something to talk about.
Yes. I'm like, what just happened? But yeah, okay. So as we conclude the show, what keeps Marie going? Affirmation, prayer, what keeps Marie going? What keeps her going along this journey and to continue to look towards what's in the future?
I think a little bit of my I think you have to have just the right amount of crazy to be an entrepreneur in this day and age, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a good enough of you know, who the hell do you think you are? Like, how the hell you gonna make this happen? But for me, I'm just keeping it 100 because, like, people see it online, but this stuff is crazy because sometimes there's some months where you're trying to figure out how I'm gonna pay my rent, how I'm gonna pay my car note. There's some months, this is it's a roller coaster ride, right? But for me, it's really about being of service,
Yeah.
providing resource, providing like that kind of thing, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
being able to know like my words impacted, helped, touched, someone. Um, that level of service is what motivates me.
Mm.
Um, but I also know that I'm walking in my purpose. So when I wake up in the morning and when I journal, I'm like, okay, I have my morning routine so that I can get in the right mindset, so that I can make sure that everything that I do is like my steps are like kind of operated in a space of gratitude,
Yeah.
that my mind, like I'm doing things in a way, in a space, like, and I'm learning how to be better in touch with my intuition.
Yeah.
And because I come from a family who have the gift of, what is it? Like I come from a family of sensitives, and I used to gaslight myself all the time. I would feel things and then I would negate them.
Mm.
And be like, "Nah, girl, you're just being too sensitive, or you're being too whatever." And then my instincts would be right, and I'd be mad at myself. but then I would never honor it the next time around. So like really right now it's just like really how can I show up and be the best of myself? How
Yeah.
can I honor my word? How can I provide service? How can I, lean in
Mm-hmm.
and do the hard things? Lean in and have those, those conversations. So it's really about just being my best self.
Yeah.
Like that's what like really drives me and motivates me in the morning. Like if I wake up and if I'm like, if my spirit tells me, girl, not today, I'm not today.
Yeah. That's good.
You know, learning how to listen to myself, listen to
Yeah.
my intuition and my body. Because like I said, like I'm 43. Like I
Mhm.
had been living on survival mode for so damn long. Like when I moved back to my mom's house, my blood pressure was like at 167
Ooh.
over 100 and something. But I was relaxed.
Yeah.
It was like so sad. And like one of my god brother was like, Marie, you have been in survival mode so long that your body does not know what relax means. And so I'm now what do you call it, prioritizing like myself.
Yeah. Wow. So, Marie, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This has been nothing but great. Nothing but great. I look forward to what's going in the future. Can't wait. Can't wait. So please make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow Coffee with Joy. Please make sure that you drop a comment so we know that you all heard some great things that Marie Denee has to say. And some great nuggets. Like I'm at awe. Like, wow. If you like to patronize our company, please make sure that you follow the QR codes. Please make sure any amount will do. That will surely help our company. But as always, as you know, if it's a weekday, or weekend. It is Coffee with Joy. Live life on purpose and talk to you all soon and see you all.